Running a business comes with a lot of what-ifs. But luckily, there's a simple answer to them. Shopify. It's the commerce platform behind millions of businesses, including Thrive Cosmetics and Momofuku, and it'll help you with everything you need. From website design and marketing to boosting sales and expanding operations, Shopify can get the job done and make your dream a reality. Turn those what-ifs into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
Your weekend is not complete without the First Lady of New York Radio. It's the Joan Hamburg Show. Talk Radio 77 WABC.
Lots of good things coming out, but one of the best things that should be in your area around this time is a new movie called The Instigators, and among its great cast is the one and only Matt Damon. Saw the movie, I loved it. It was funny. It was everything you want for a movie, especially now, this time of year. And I've got the director, whom you've met before on this air, Doug Liman, with me. How long does it take to make a movie like this with major stars?
Hey, Johnny. Well, first of all, Instigators is, it's an action movie because Matt Damon and Casey Affleck are trying to do a heist and they're awful at it. But it's so it's really a comedy, but it is an action comedy. And how long does it take to make? It depends when you start. From the time Matt and I started talking about the film was maybe 2 years ago, but from when we actually started working on it, in all seriousness, was a little over a year ago.
Yeah, well, people I don't think realize they go see a movie and what it takes to get a movie going, especially a movie. Well,
also they see the red carpet and it looks like it's all fun and games, and especially when you see a movie like Instigators that really is so much fun, and Matt and Casey have so much chemistry together and they look like they're having fun. You might think like it's just been a party the whole time, but on one hand, it was that. Like, I was so excited to go to work every day because it wasn't just Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. It was a whole cast of characters that I wanted to work with my whole life. Toby Jones, Michael Stuhlbarg, Alfred Molina, Paul Walter Hauser, Hong Chow, and then, for your younger audience, Jack Harlow, who's, really making his film debut with Instigators. Same thing on Roadhouse. Conor McGregor made his debut, and I really do love, taking people from other parts of the world
and putting them in your world,
putting them into movies. So that's, but it really was I hadn't worked with Matt since Bourne Identity, so it was a reunion of sorts. And Bourne Identity was the kind of movie that was transitional for Matt's career. His career was never the same afterwards, and my career was never the same afterwards. So, there was a kind of camaraderie that formed between Matt and myself on Bourne Identity, and we've stayed friends ever since. And Matt sent me the script to Instigators, and we've been trying to find something to do together. And
wait, did
Bourne Identity?
He found the script?
Well, Casey Affleck wrote the script.
Okay,
so
right.
It was, it was something and they're basically family. They're Matt Damon and Casey Affleck are not actually relatives, but they might as well be. The company that made the film is Matt Damon and Ben Affleck's company. Casey wrote the film and stars in it.
Yeah. So it was close to home.
It was like, basically getting into someone else's family.
Yeah, but they were great together, and everyone did.
They're fantastic together. Not since Mr. and Mrs. Smith have I had that kind of on-screen chemistry.
Yeah.
You can't, there's no trick to a director sort of, making that happen. Brad and Angie had the chemistry on Mr. and Mrs. Smith because they had chemistry, and Matt and Casey have this extraordinary chemistry that because they have a lifetime of working together.
Yeah.
And being friends. They've known each other since they were little kids.
And
And what's fantastic about that is that, they obviously have a lot of affection for each other, but they also, there's parts where they, can annoy each other in the way only family can annoy family.
Right.
And, all of that ends up being chemistry on screen. They're just so fantastic to watch.
And they're so funny. I mean, that's, people may not realize, but you really laugh a lot. And when I put Matt Damon in Bourne Identity, he'd never done an action movie before. And it was kind of exciting to have an audience see Matt in a different light. And now with Instigators, they're seeing really how funny Matt Damon can be, because the movie is really funny. And you can't do a comedy unless your actors are funny.
All right, listen up. The only gift that any dad wants on Father's Day is Goldbelly. Goldbelly ships the most iconic foods from the best restaurants across the country straight to his door for free. Let him kick back and chow down on award-winning barbecue from Texas, epic deep dish pizza from Chicago, or colossal pastrami sandwiches from New York. Make Dad feel like an absolute legend this Father's Day, and go to goldbelly.com to get 20% off your first order with promo code DAD. That's 20% off at goldbelly.com, code DAD.
It's more challenging than ever to meet the demands of competing priorities that work throws our way. From emails to reports and project proposals, we need help to get it all done. Grammarly is the essential AI communication assistant that boosts your productivity at work, so you can get more of what you need done faster, no matter what or where you're writing. Grammarly sets the standard for responsible AI and equips you with the best tools to do your job, like AI-powered features that help you write and edit quickly everywhere you write, or tone features that help you communicate more confidently. Just a few clicks can tailor your tone and writing so you come across exactly as you intend. No wonder 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Let Grammarly take the busy work off your plate so you can focus on high-impact work. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
Now, when a movie like this opens, which it's coming in over the weekend in a lot of markets in our area, so what does this take to really get it rolling? I mean, everyone talks about movies. I've gone to the theater a few times, not for this movie, but for other things, and maybe there were 10 people sitting in the movie theater, which I find scary. Having relatives in the movie business. What's your take on all this?
Well, there's, in the case of Instigators, it's really, we made it for
streaming.
We made it for streaming. Like that was the plan from day one. And it doesn't affect really how I make the movie.
Uh-huh.
And so it's, like I make, Instigators is a big movie. It's got, big action, big car chases. It's, but also, when I make a movie, it's like, I love when people see it in a theater on the big screen. But I also know that like my movies, have long shelf lives because, I'm really investing in characters and work with brilliant actors like Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. And that people will be watching Instigators 10 years from now, 20 years from now. I mean, there's people watching my first film, Swingers, who weren't alive when I made it.
Right. That's
and
funny.
They're all seeing it on home video. So, to me, like Instigators, play great in a theater, and it is in theaters this weekend. And it'll also play great on Apple TV, where it will live forever. And
is that good for you as a filmmaker?
It's fantastic to have choices, that you can, because we can't, I'm like a painter, someone who can just like sit down at an easel and paint a painting. Like Matt Damon and I don't get to make a movie unless, a studio pays for it.
Right.
So, we need studios. So it's fantastic that Apple has gotten into the business. It's also fantastic that to make a movie for a company like Apple where, they have like a brand that's associated with quality, right? Like it's, when you think of like an iPhone, it's like, oh, that's the more expensive phone to get. And it's and like, so making a film for Apple, they're really committed to the
and
film,
helping,
but also helping their brand. Like they want to make movies that are smart, that are the things you think of when you think of the Apple brand, sexy, charming, smart, cool, like, they want us to make Instigators, all of that.
Right. And let me ask
it really is. Yeah.
Do they give a lot of opinion on whom you should cast in these movies? Or once they decide, your Doug Liman's going to give us a film, is that all up to you?
Well, it's in the case of Instigators, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck and Casey Affleck and I put the film together, and then we went out to the market, and we actually went to Apple first, and didn't go anywhere else. Like we just felt like, given the kind of movie we wanted to make, and that Apple would be wanting to make the same movie.
So all's good. And do they let you just run with it once it's all decided that you're going to do it?
Yeah, I mean, you should, know me by now that, like, even if they didn't let me run with it, I would be running with it. I'm fairly opinionated, and I don't...
you know what you're doing.
I have a reputation, whether I know what I'm doing or not, I have a reputation for, acting like I do, and insisting on doing it my own way and not necessarily conforming to the rules and the system. And, that was Bourne Identity. It was kind of a groundbreaking film because that's what I was doing when I made Bourne Identity, back when I had no business insisting on sort of shaking up how an action movie would be made. Now all these years later, making Instigators, it's sort of the same process with Matt Damon. We're trying to make a movie that we ourselves would want to go see and that we think is funny. And we're not trying to, conform to some studio mandate. We're trying to do what we would like. The difference is, now Matt Damon is, this massive movie star and I have a really successful track record. So it's probably no surprise that Apple is like, kind of,
go. Yeah.
They trust us.
Well,
we've earned that. And I mean, especially working with Matt. I mean, they really should trust him because he has just grown into such a great actor. I mean, he was a great actor in Bourne Identity. I mean, my whole career, basically got launched by how friggin' good he was as Jason Bourne. But he's also grown in terms of being a producer and understanding the business and really how to help a director like myself make the best possible movie. So it was, you know, I always wanted to work with Matt since Bourne Identity, and I have to say,
it worked.
It far exceeded my expectations.
Well,
it was fantastic.
It was great. And did you expect it to be perceived as funny as it was?
Yeah, from day one, I was said I was making a comedy.
Because it really got unbelievable laughs from the very beginning.
Yeah, no, but I was like, you know, obviously our family's very funny. You know, your son makes comedies. My first film, Swingers, was a comedy, so I was excited to get back and do a film that you know, that declares itself a comedy.
And today, what's the story with movies? Like, as a director and someone who's been doing this since you were a young kid, just at a school, when you start doing this, what is the process? How long does this take?
What do you mean?
In terms of putting this film together and start shooting it, and, you know, what kind of time period do you have to allow for this?
Well, we shot the film incredibly quickly, and that's, you know, something that, you know, when I look at my career and I'm like, what have I learned? Or, you know, and one thing I know is that, like, I have a short attention span, and by the way, when you look at Instigators, you know, it's 90 minutes. It's entertaining from the first second to the last. It's you know, like, I want to make a film that sort of fits my attention span, and part of that is to shoot it fairly quickly so it just stays fresh, because it is a comedy. If you can't necessarily expect the actors to be funny if they're doing the same scene over and over and over again.
Imagine this. The best pasta sauce you have ever tasted sits abandoned on a plate. Wasted sauce. That is a tragedy. If only you had used Barilla al Bronzo pasta. Its bronze-cut texture holds your sauce and scoops up every last drop. The Italians call that scarpetta. Capture sauce the Italian way. Barilla al Bronzo. Click or tap the banner to find out more.
So now the film is out. Do you spend, and the companies, a lot of time marketing it, or you let it go its way?
No, we commit to marketing it. You know, it's, here I am talking to you on the radio. That's part of marketing it. And, you know, we've had screenings and premieres in different cities. And, you know, and obviously Matt Damon does way more work than I do, because, you know, more people want to talk to the movie stars. And they want to, you know, it's like, and I don't blame them.
Yeah, but they all did a great job. And it was, you know, it made people so happy to be able to laugh. We don't get enough of that.
Well, that's the other thing, is that, you know, I make movies that are for, you know, the moment we're in, you know, and I really try to, that's why I live in New York City and not Hollywood, so that I'm very much just in touch with, like, what's happening in the world, and not cut off from it. And, you know, I feel like making Instigators in 2024, I wanted to make a comedy.
And you did.
You know, like, that's, like, I feel like that's what I want to see. That's when, you know, most people are going to see it on their Apple TV, and you know, the other things that are going to be available on their TV screen are, you know, going to be pretty bleak. So I really, in this moment in time, wanted to make something that was, you know, unabashedly fun, relevant because it's fun, and it's you know, like, not, oh, we shouldn't do escapist movies. No, it's escapist, but it's not empty calories. Like, the heart that Matt Damon and Casey Affleck bring to Instigators,
right? You
know, it's uplifting, and something that I feel will stick with audiences, and also audiences will, you know, want to watch Instigators more than once, because they'll just want to, you know, you know, on the run with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. They're just, it's just such a fun, safe place to be with those two characters, those two actors playing those two characters. I mean, it was, Matt Damon, everyone knows, is like a, giant international movie star, and Casey Affleck's won an Academy Award, but I do feel like Instigators really is a debut for Casey Affleck as a leading man.
Right.
On a big commercial Hollywood movie. And I think Casey Affleck is going to blow audiences away with I just think I fell in love with him. This is my first time working with him. I fell in love with him. And I think, and I know audiences are falling in love with him because, we've been doing some screenings and
and you've gotten a lot of screenings and they're all successful. We're talking about Instigators with Casey Affleck and Matt Damon. So, Doug, now that this is out and this is going to be a big weekend, what's next? Do you give yourself a little time off, or is the next project looming in the background?
You always have to have, future projects brewing. It's like, because it can take a while for all the things to fall into place. So I have a number of movies I've been working on, and I think I know which one's going to actually go into production next. But, this is also a business that my personality fits, because the reality is I couldn't tell you for a fact where I'm going to be next week.
Uh-huh.
And that, based on
right.
what happens with the various movie projects that are in,
uh-huh.
It's I kind of have I'm okay with not necessarily, not knowing exactly what's going to happen. And luckily the movie business, that's a perfect business for me to be in. And by the way, when you watch Instigators, it's not entirely predictable, in a way that, really speaks to me. That, I don't want to make movies where you just, the beginning,
right.
what's going to happen at the end.
No formula, right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you did a great job.
It's the anti-heist movie. So it's the one formula for Instigators is that it's not going to follow the formula of other heist movies you've seen, because Matt Damon and Casey Affleck play some of the two worst thieves you've ever seen on screen.
I know. And really funny. Really funny. Laugh out loud funny. You did a great job. I'm looking forward to more coming from the House of Liman. And
Thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Take care, Doug. Doug Liman with a brand new film, Instigators. Big stars, Matt Damon, among others. And it should be in your theater over the weekend. And go see it. You're going to really add a little spice to your summer. I'm Joan Hamburg, and you're listening to WABC.